Hey guys, welcome to the our regularly scheduled Tuesday live stream. I know we just had one the other day that was kind of impromptu, and it looks like right off the bat we are. Oh no, it's saying it's okay. I got an amber alert on my live stream, so I thought maybe it was crashing right off the bat. So you guys will have to let me know how it is looking and seeing. Let's see here. Let me pop in some comments. So we do have some people jumping in. So Sarah, glad you could make it. Schaefer1234, welcome to the live stream. Leche por favor, welcome. Keith Edmead, welcome to the live stream. I don't know if you've been on a live stream before, so I'm glad you could make it. And EMJ, welcome, glad you could make it. So let me know if the video and everything is syncing right. YouTube keeps changing things, so it's actually saying I'm having a little bit of a buffering problem. It's saying it's okay, but it's not good. So let me know if you guys are having any problems. You know, maybe my network's going to be complicated. Hopefully not, because I think we have a pretty good discussion set up for tonight. Oh, Schwa Schwa, welcome. Glad you could make it. Okay, so let me just double check a couple of things to make sure that that things look like they're going okay, so I don't mess anything up. If I could get some good sounds just from you guys, if you could check that, that would be outstanding. Again, things are about 30 seconds delayed, so I know that it's going to take a little while for you guys to actually hear that and then respond. And okay, EMJ says it looks good so far, and the chat comments are sliding around, so that is awesome. So let me. I'll do my normal housekeeping where I will bring up my link. So if you guys need to or want to contact me directly, you can do that through direct email at Dwayne at dadssurvivingdivorce.com. You can go to the website and actually you can send me an email there too at www.dadssurvivingdivorce.com, and the Twitter feed, which I did actually use to announce this this live stream today, which is Dad Surviving Div, because I ran out of room and couldn't put the whole thing on there. Let's see here, looks good so far. Okay, so on that also, if you guys could, if you haven't already done so, sign up for the newsletter, which you can do on the main page. Just put in your name, give me your email, or put your email address in there. I'm just holding this on to me. All I'm doing is using this as a mechanism to connect with you guys, let you know what's going on, to try to add some information, or like in the mail I sent today, to send out typos. And that's what I get for trying to do this kind of late. So as I mentioned on Sunday, I'm trying to balance summer vacation and stuff, and work and all kinds of stuff. So was running out of time tonight, so sorry about that. But on that also, some people have been starting to jump in on the forum. So if you want to check out the forum that has been created, you can click on the forum button from the main website. If you haven't registered and you're basically registering through WordPress for an account on my site, that will let you put in, participate in the things. You actually can even change. Let me go ahead and log in here real quick. You can actually even change some of your configuration stuff. I added a plugin that allowed you to do that. So you can actually put a picture if you want to and whatnot. I'm not sure. Let's see. I think if you just click on your icon and it brings up your profile, and then you can go into, I think it's settings, and I'm trying to remember how to do it. I did this the other day, and now I can't remember how to do it. So then you go into profile, then you can change your profile photo, and this little gray box, which obviously I haven't done, and I just grabbed an old photo. So anyways, I would, like I mentioned the other day, this is kind of the rollout test of this. We're starting to get some people to jump in. Probably a really bad time for me to start it right when I'm doing vacation and right after finishing the 3-day weekend with the kids. So not best planning on my part, so I apologize for that. But yeah, so there we go. So if you guys could check that out, that would be great. Let me go back to here. And before I get into the discussion, let me just double check on where we are with comments. So let me see who we got. Oh, Pink Flame, welcome, greeting from Gumbo City, greetings from California. For me, Rebel Law, I'm glad you could make it. Late update, glad you could make it. You guys are saying it's looking okay. Oh, Rebel Law says, oh, I have a good one, the email chain of a narc. Yeah, share that. That would be good to talk about. And that actually is going to tie in a little bit to what I want to talk about with black hole thinking. And primarily this came up because on the Facebook page, there was a little bit of a discussion on one of my photos that I actually haven't had a chance to respond to, but that is, and I won't bring up the comment in the live stream just because I mean, if the person comes in and says it's okay, absolutely, I will do that, but I'm not going to do that to them. But it's I think it would be good to talk about black hole thinking in specifics, and then you guys can chime in on just your successes with it, or your experience with it as well. Okay, so Bless Her Health says, "You're awesome, Dwayne." Oh, thank you. You guys are amazing. I'm every time I participate with you guys in the comments and I see what's going on, and this is a great group of people. I know it's kind of a smaller site, but you guys are amazing. Okay. Oh, Greg King, welcome. I didn't even see that, so I'm glad I saw Rebel Law say that. So, Greg, welcome to the live stream. Welcome to the channel. Yeah, you're definitely not the only one going through this. I would imagine if you're new to this, which from your comment, it sounds as though you are, you have been going through a lot of gaslighting and emotional manipulation and probably thinking you were going crazy. So hopefully, as you're learning or just getting that initial epiphany, it's giving you a little bit of closure and a little bit of awareness of what you're dealing with, and then helping you process what's going on. And then the discussion we're going to have in a little bit, I think, will actually be helpful for you. So Chemtrail Mary, welcome. I'm glad you can make it. Chemtrails, I know it's on the screen, but it says you don't have to comment on everything in the forum. But it's been, since I started, my goal has been to connect. If anyone takes the time to comment, I want to try to do it. Now, I know that I have fallen way behind on the YouTube channel comments. Luckily, I have a tool that helps me, but I know that there are comments that are out there from a couple of weeks ago that I just haven't been able to get to. So I intend to. I have some time tomorrow that I'm actually going to try to do that. So I appreciate you saying that, but it's one of those things that I try to do that. I really try. I mean, and I really appreciate that you guys are supportive of that and understand that there are some just limitations. Ooh, America Batista, I haven't seen you in a while, so welcome. Bless Her Health says, do you ever explain your ex-narc's traits to your kids? Like what's normal action, reaction, or not? I don't want my boys thinking my ex-abusive ways are normal, but don't want to bash him either. Actually, you know what? I'm going to grab this one, and because that's actually a really good question and a really good conversation, and I do have thoughts on that, because I've run into some problems with this that you guys should be aware of as well. But before we jump into that, let's see. Let me double check. Look. Oh, Jasmine Moon. Okay, welcome to the live stream. Glad you could actually make it. I know this isn't the most convenient time for everybody, but as I've said in the past, this happens to be the one time frame that I can typically don't have the kids. Actually, what happened today, since it's my vacation, I have some time with the kids. Debbie actually took the girls, because my son didn't come over for this first couple of days. Took them to go see Wonder Woman, which I actually really wanted to go see. But I've made a commitment to you guys, and I really wanted to do the actual live stream and not push it off. So anyways, what I want to get into right now, and hopefully I don't miss your guys' comments a lot, is, let's see here. I want to talk about black hole thinking. And black hole thinking is one of the, one of the mindsets that I talk about in that collection of ways to deal with this, right? The initial thing is gray rock, right? Learning how to minimize your reaction, or at least your visible reaction to your ex, to give them supply. The next is hybrid no contact if you have kids, because that's going to be the next phase of that, because you can't go no contact. but you need a methodology to talk about, not talk about, a methodology on how to interact with your ex to minimize those triggers, and again, to not give them supply and not to waste your time. The third phase of that is the absolute thinking, where you basically are telling yourself that you 100% think and know that your ex is a narc. And when I say that, I mean that in the context that you're just blindly believing it. So you don't question it anymore. You don't look at their behavior. You know, on Monday you don't go, okay, I know they're a narc, and on Tuesday they hoover around or they do something, or you're having a tough time and you're reminiscing about past events and you are starting to question yourself. No, you change your mindset to where it doesn't matter. Anything that comes up, you're like, they're a narc, they're a narc, they're a narc, right? Even if they're not. And again, because see, the reason I say that, and you all know this, is that if you don't, we're not psychologists, we're not mental health professionals, we're not able to diagnose somebody, and they're not going to go to a therapist to get diagnosed. So you're taking that leap of faith to help you to cope with the situation. And then the next stage of that, or basically the final stage in the four-part or four-phase process of this, is black hole thinking. And you guys probably hate slides, but I just created a quick slide and found a little picture of a black hole because I thought it kind of looked cool. And the reason I brought up the analogy of a black hole is everything that falls into a black hole is lost. So if you focus your time and energy on your ex, the black hole, you have a strong potential to get sucked back in and have a really hard time to escape. Okay, the second part of that is you can't see anything in a black hole, right? So nobody knows what's going on the other side. Everyone can guess, they can surmise, they can do whatever to try to decide what they think is going on. But again, you don't know. So in that concept, you're thinking of your ex as a black hole. So you don't want to get too close because you don't want to get sucked in. There's no reason to look inside, because if you do, you can't see anything. Which I know, it's kind of an abstract concept, so follow me on this. Okay, so then the next part of this is thinking about what your ex is doing is absolutely counterproductive. And I'm not saying this from a judgy perspective, because I did the same thing. I spent a lot of time ruminating about the past and wondering what she was doing. And then the next part about that is wondering and thinking about what your ex is doing with your kids. That doesn't help you either. So it's a way to try, whenever you find yourself thinking about your ex, when you find yourself falling into that trap, to try to back out of that and remind yourself that you don't need to not go there, to try to stop yourself from doing that. And hopefully the black hole analogy can help you take a pause, think about it, about what you're getting ready to do, and get yourself to stop and back up. So I see all kinds of comments flying by. So let me get back over there and take a look and see where we are. Wow, okay, so I did. All right, so let's see where we're at. Pink Flame says, escape is the key word. Okay, so I'll have to scroll back up to see what's going on. Leche, por favor, retracted a message because of a typo. And you're probably just doing that just to point out that I sent an email to all the people on the mailing list with a typo, where I think I said you need to detach from what I meant to say was detach from your ex, as opposed to saying detecting, which makes absolutely no sense. So when you read that, just put in the right word. All right. So I'm looking at some of the comments that are off the screen. So Leche, por favor, says, California, I look to moving back home, but it's too expensive. I'm also realizing how many of my family members are narcs. Yeah, that's not so great. And yeah, California's a pain. I would like to leave at some point. Rebel Law, to bless her health, says, I feel your pain. I think there's a fine line, can bash the other person. Okay, so and I'm going to talk about her comment in a second. Let me get caught up, and I have her comment queued up. Whoops. Hopefully you don't hear me banging on the mic. Yeah, oh, you see, Rebel, I was saying can't bash. Yeah, and I'll talk about that in a second. Where are we at? Let's see here. And I'm going to try to stay up. Let's see. Okay. So Lisa's on. Welcome. Glad you could make it. I haven't seen you on in a while, so glad you could come on. STB. See, sometimes I don't know the acronym. She wrote STBX. And my friend, he had his first affair with 8 years into marriage, and 27 years later got discarded. Find out she filed for divorce the same time my ex filed. They are together again. I think, let me double check something here. See, I'm not doing a very good job of catching up, guys, so sorry about that. And let me do... I'm trying to scroll down to see where I'm at on this. And so, hey, Lisa, you kind of prompted this discussion. If you want to add, basically, and I didn't want to, I wasn't going to take your comment from Facebook and put it on. So if you want to bring up some parts of it that we can talk in detail, or I'm going to, I just basically went over the black hole thinking, then go ahead and add that, because that way you can kind of pick and choose what you want in this forum. And maybe we can talk about that. So Sarah H says, I just got home from a coworker's farewell party. Dwayne felt better, more confident, stronger around the individuals there after absorbing your material. Well, that's really great. And a lot of this, Sarah, is just, it's a mindset change. I've talked about before in other videos that we're not, see, I got my camera moved again, so I'll move over so I'm centered better. It's a mindset change because you're not going to change them. The only thing that you really get to change is your approach and your perspective and your interaction with them. And I've talked before about how in my situation, not a lot has changed, but I've changed, right? It's not that my situation has really gotten any worse or any better. Nothing's changed, no money. Well, I guess technically child support's getting ready to go down. But, for the last 5 years, it hasn't. Last 5 years from divorce, 6 years from separation, it's all been basically the same. The only thing that's really changed is my perspective, my feelings, my emotions around this entire experience, and that's been really helpful. And that's what happens is you kind of you re-look at what's going on, and you basically take your power back. And so the nice part about that is if you're in this right now and you're struggling and you're not really sure what's going to happen and if it's going to get any better, it does, right? And I know for me, I used to get caught in the thing saying, well, nothing's going to change for 6 years, so it can't get better because it sucks right now, which means it's going to suck for 8 years, and then it's going to only get a little bit better until kids start dropping off and stuff like that. And that's not really the case. Now let me back up. Had I stayed in that angry, frustrated, just tense mode, then there is a good possibility that I would be in the exact same mode of thinking that I was years ago. You guys probably know some people who've gone through some really nasty divorces who are still bitter after years. And none of us should want to get stuck in that trap. But we have to choose, you have to choose that you don't want to be in that trap anymore. And then you have to start taking steps to get out of it. All right. So that's great though, Sarah. I'm glad to hear that. So let me try to catch up. So Leche por favor says the black hole thinking is so important. It keeps me from second guessing myself and your situation, or second guessing yourself and your situation. Yeah, absolutely. Because what happens on that, so it's a dovetail thing, because then you don't start thinking about what's going on. So you're giving yourself that block or that door that's closed that you can't see on the other side, so you're not distracted by it. So Helena Nicholas says, I'm living with my parents. Me and my son share a room, but he has his own bed. I've always been the caregiver. Is he going to have a leg up on me on a custody case? of custody because he bought a house. Is he going to use it to try to? Yeah, sure. But it doesn't necessarily, mean anything. I mean, you would have to be in a situation where you were causing some type of significant problem, that they were trying to exploit. I mean, is it the best solution? No, but right. I mean, that's the same thing for a guy. Like, for instance, if I wouldn't have rented the house and I would have lived on someone's couch or whatever. Now, you actually have a better thing because you have a room, not a room, but you have their own bed and stuff like that. But yeah, is he going to try to make a point, an issue of it if he's a narc? Oh, absolutely, because they'll take anything they can to try to use to their advantage. So yeah, I mean, you need to be a little bit cautious of that because there's a pretty good chance that your ex, will try to say that it's inappropriate that a mom and a son, no matter the age, are sharing a room. He'll try to exploit that. The fact that you guys each have your own bed is better because if you guys were, sleeping in the same bed, even if it was a king size bed, then he more than probably a good 90% chance that he would actually make that an issue. So, but don't allow these things, that fear, to control you and overwhelm you. So what I mean by that is, so take what that question, let me pull this up because I know this is scrolled off the screen, and that way we can hit it, and then I'm gonna grab the other comment here in a minute. So let me duplicate this slide so I don't lose the other one, and then I'm gonna go copy paste and dink, and then I'll go like this and this, and all right, and I will do, is it one? No, it's two. And it didn't work, so let me try that again. Okay, so Helena says, I'm living with my parents. Me and my son share a room, but he has his own bed. I've always been the caregiver. Is he going to have a leg up on me on a custody case because he bought a house? Like I said, yes, he's going to more than likely try to make it an issue. However, just make sure if it comes up that you have a plan, right? As long as if it's brought up and they're trying to take this moment in time and blow it out of proportion to show that you're an unfit mother, you just say, look, this is a temporary solution. I'm saving money to get a place. That's the intent. He has his own bed. I mean, if they turn around and they try to make it a big deal, then you could say, oh, you know what? Excellent point. I can sleep on the couch. He can have the room. I mean, just try to remain calm on it. It's incredibly tough because I know where you're at because I was at the same state. I was at the same spot, right? And then I was worrying about and freaking out about everything that she could use against me. Now, in some ways, the fact that I was freaking out about it and making decisions to try to mitigate those things was helpful because I had rooms for the kids. I had clothes for the kids. I had, beds for the kids. And now, granted, family helped pull that together, but, I was making those decisions to try to counteract those arguments they were going to make. Now, the only thing I will tell you, though, that was bad in my point of view, for me personally, when going through that, is it was a very anxious filled time. And that didn't do anything for me, and it didn't do anything for my kids. So it's really hard, even though I always talk about it, to say you have to be rational and not emotional. It's really hard not to be emotional because this is a very emotional situation. So just try to calm yourself down and realize that just because they're saying something doesn't mean that they're going to win, right? So, all right. I see comments flying by. Let me try to get caught back up. So let me go here so we can see some of them. And Rebel Law says, "Oh my God, oh my God, you gave up seeing Wonder Woman for us. It's a good movie. Don't tell me it's a good movie, because I'm not going to get to see it till it comes out on Netflix now or rent it or something." Okay, so all right, I see the live stream. Anybody else? Okay, so you guys having any problems? Let's see here. I see somebody saying they're having some issues. Let me go over and to the YouTube little page and see what my health is saying. You know, it looks like it's going amber or going yellow. Right now it says I have a good stream, but it looks like it's going down to where I'm having, you guys are maybe getting a little bit of buffering. So that's frustrating. And I don't think I can stop the stream midstream and restart it. So I apologize for that. That's kind of unfortunate. Hopefully most of you guys are doing okay with the stream and it's not messing up. And if it is, I apologize. If this is a problem where it keeps happening, then I will, I'll bump down the stream like I had. For a while there, I was running it at 480 instead of 720. This stream's is set up for 720. Okay, so let me get where we are, because it looks like I missed some comments. Okay, so Lisa says she's having some problems seeing me. Hopefully you, let's see, you know what, I can, and not seeing the chat. So we have people talking, so obviously the chat's still running. So could just be your connection. However, I will say I did just check my stats and it looks like I am having some issues. So it could be this, you could be having some problems. Okay, so Chemtrail Mary says, I would tell the kids about toxic behavior without bringing in the narc. Okay, so I'm gonna jump in on, I'm gonna scroll up to make sure no one else is saying they're having problems. Okay, so Rebel Law seeing me good. Dan Ski's on. Welcome, Dan. Glad you could make it. Let's see. Okay. So let me. I'm gonna go to Bless Her Health's comment that she asked in the beginning, and it was, do you ever explain your ex-narc's traits to your kids, like what's normal action, reaction, or not? I don't want my boys thinking my ex-abusive ways are normal, but don't want to bash him either. Okay, so I've done two things on this. I've mentioned to you guys that I've talked way too much in specifics to my son, who's 18 now, and that was a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. What I have done now is typically, okay, so typically what's going to happen is your kids are going to exhibit, or they're going to model some behavior from the other parent. So inevitably, they are going to do things that your ex does that are inappropriate. What you do, in my opinion, is you address those specific actions that they are doing, and you talk to them about it, and you talk to them about why it's inappropriate for people to do that. So you're not directly talking about the ex, you're indirectly doing it, but there's other people that are doing it too. So you use that as a teaching moment to talk about it. Now, if your ex is doing something to you and your kids see it or whatever, I can see where if you're, well, and even then, if you can do it in a way to where, you know, okay, that's not the way we want to communicate with people. You know, you need to treat people with respect. If you're angry, everyone gets angry. You need to be able to control yourself and control your emotions and not break down your communications. And if you ever get to the point to where you can't, you need to take, you know, you need to get away from the situation and take a pause from the conversation and not continue it, right? So you just have to be really careful that you're not, you know, okay, conversely, you don't want to, let's see, your ex drops the kids off. They're really, they're snarky and they're sending, you know, they're just doing these one-liner little, you know, things. You don't want to say, now see what your mom or dad is doing. That is absolutely wrong. You should never do that. That is horrible behavior. You know, that is just disrespect. You know, I mean, that's because then you're not making it a learning moment. You're not making it a teaching moment. You're making it an attack on the, and it may, you know, it's pretty much justified, you know, but it's attacking the other person. And then the problem is that, I mean, your kids are going to see it, but then you're not even going to really convey the message you want, right? Because what they're going to see is, okay, you know, daddy hates mommy, mommy hates daddy, and that's normal behavior, right? You're actually would be reinforcing that behavior is normal, okay? So you got to be careful. I mean, that's, You got to be really careful. And those times when you think that you have a perfect opportunity to really point out what the ex is doing, be very cautious of doing that, because typically it doesn't really help your situation. All right, so let me see where we are. Okay. Okay, Jasmine Moon says, I would suggest teaching kids about setting their own boundaries and observing. You know what? I like this comment just for the first couple of words I read, that I am going to paste it in, because I don't think it's on. No, it's not on the screen anymore, and it's still a really good comment. So let me post this in, and I'm going to go like this, and we'll go to, okay, so Jasmine says, I would suggest teaching kids about setting their own boundaries and observing behaviors and actions, not words. That's good. That's a good point, good way to say that. Use yourself to model healthy behavior. You don't have to point out X specifically. Exactly. That's a great comment and great advice. So nice one on that one. So you know what? I'll leave it up while I'm looking, so anyone else who's looking at the live or the replay can see that. Yeah, Schwa says, True's Jasmine. Rebel Law says, oh, good point, Jasmine. Dansky saying hi to everybody, which maybe I scrolled up too much. Chemical Mary says, narcs can try to be cured if they want to admit their disorder and change their ways. I would say they would have to go back to childhood and process that. Yeah, but see, the problem is that they're not willing to acknowledge that they have a problem. But you're right, Chemical Mary. I mean, if somebody has that epiphany and says, for whatever reason, you know what, I don't like the way my life is. I don't want it to be this way anymore, and they want to change, absolutely. How often does that happen? I mean, yeah, that's only really going to happen with a narc if they get caught and wrapped up in something so much that it's unavoidable. The problem is that we all know, because we've experienced it, they're able to switch on a dime and adapt to their situation to validate and keep their illusion intact. But no, I agree. I mean, you know, if you take people like Sam Vaknin and HD Tudor, if I'm saying his name right, those are people who have hit a stage. If you've watched either one of those, they've hit a point in their life where they were forced to confront some of their things. Now they're still they're still dealing with their disorder, and they're trying to you know, I guess, be better humans, but it's because, I mean, they were forced to do it, right? And they still both admit that they're still the way they are. I mean, they're making progress on how to you know, I don't know, engage with people, but fundamentally they're still who they are. The only difference is that I guess the thing is I mean, if somebody's a narc and they're like, okay, I'm a narc and I'm going to admit it and I'm outing myself, so now it's easier for people to know what my secrets are and stuff, but it still doesn't necessarily change of who they are. All right, so you know what? I'm going to turn on my comments. Nope, wrong one. My timestamps, which I don't think will come up on the replay, but that way I can at least see where I'm at. Okay. All right, I'm going to grab Lisa's comment, and then I'm going to scroll down, and I'll hit this in a second. So let me do. All right. Okay. Pink Flame says, I do wonder how hard it would be for someone to move on to a new relationship having a narc as their ex. It's tough, because what happens is your new relation is going to get sucked into the drama. That's what is happening in my situation right now with Debbie. I've talked before that the ex has started shifting her attack to more focus on things that Debbie's trying to do with us and the kids. So unfortunately, anybody who gets in a relationship with us they may think that they're going to be able to be separated from it, but the longer and more serious the relationship gets, the more they're going to get sucked into it. Now, the good part about it is, well, good. I mean, that's not good. But if you and your new relationship can learn about you know, I guess at some point, if it gets serious, if you can bring them into the fold of the narcissistic abuse recovery stuff, like this, like my channel and, you know, some of the other stuff that's out there, that to where you're on the same page, that's critical. But here's the other problem with this. Let's say that you make progress and you're doing really well, and you have your gray rock, your hybrid no contact, your absolute thinking, and your black hole thinking, and you've worked it out in your head and your perspective to where, you know, they're not able to trigger you. Well, if you think about it, like in my situation, so when I got to that nirvana, well, not nirvana, but, you know, pretty close to nirvana point on this, what would you expect the narc to do? Undiagnosed narc, just to throw that back out there. It shifts. So then what happens is you have a person who, yeah, they've been going through it with you, but they weren't the target. So now they're being the target, you know, they're being, you know, the smear campaigns going on them, and the triangulation and all that stuff is happening, and it's directly impacting them. Then what happens is they basically hit like a reset, and they start back like years before, like we're at the beginning of this whole process. So now here you are in nirvana, and you have somebody else who's down here who's struggling with it, and, you know, you're practicing your absolute thinking, and it's pretty much a given, but then you're also doing your black hole thinking, and then this person is really getting triggered and having PTSD and having all those early stages effects of this type of abuse, and it starts bringing you back down. So it's really, really tough, and you have to be careful of it. But I mean, unfortunately, it's not going to be you know, butterflies and rainbows, because they are going to get sucked into it as well. Let's see. All right. I think I scrolled up again. Shwa says, it has been 6.5 years for me, and I'm still not even interested in trying to date. Honestly, guys, if, you know, I get, like in my situation, I started dating before I started going through the narcissistic abuse recovery part of this. So, you know, I can't really follow my own advice, but I would say that there's no reason to rush into dating. If you feel compelled, or you feel like you're going to be alone forever, you have to fix that first. You have to feel okay with yourself. You have to be able to love yourself first. You know, you have to be okay being alone. And the way, I mean, it's almost like the law of attraction. If you guys, you know, pay attention to any of that stuff, or watch, you know, any of those, you know, shows about that type of motivational type of stuff, but it's really true. When you are in a better space, you attract more positive stuff. When you're in a negative space, you attract negative things. So if you're desperate and you're, you know, worried about being alone, if you do attract somebody in that state, it's not going to be really great. For instance, and I know I talked about this last week, so I'll try to make this quick so I can catch back up. But, you know, when I met Debbie, I was content being alone. I was happy. And I wasn't worried about the future anymore. I mean, there was a period of time where I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to meet anybody. You know, I'm going to be alone forever. No one's going to like me. I'm too old. I'm too fat. I'm too, you know, just name it. You know, I mean, no one's going to be interested in me, and it's going to be horrible, right? And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then at the time, I wasn't finding anybody, you know. I mean, then that didn't help. It kind of kept the whole situation stressful. And then I finally got to the point that I just didn't care anymore. And it wasn't that I was like, you know, forget it, you know, I'm never going to find anybody. It wasn't that. It was like, you know what? I have a pretty good life. It's okay. I mean, things could be better, but, you know, things are going pretty good. And, you know, it's going to work out. I'll meet somebody. I'll meet somebody. It'll happen at some point. And it did, right? And it's weird how life plays out that way. Okay, so I'll get off on that tirade, and I know I'm way behind on comments. So let me just try to zoom through on this. So, okay, I see. It looks like Leche Por Favor asked a question, but I think She's asking it from somebody else because the question was, how long did your divorce take and why? I have our temporary order hearing on Friday. The judge expedited our case after the restraining order trial. I'm hoping it will go quickly. What I will say on that is if both people want it to go quickly, it'll go quickly. If somebody wants to drag their feet and make this a painful, nasty process, it's going to be a painful, nasty process. For whatever reason, my ex once it started, she wanted it to be a divorce quick and, well, let me back up. They did slow it down at one point because they were using the custody and the child support reduction, or basically we went from 70-30 to 50-50, and they refused to change the custody, our child support and alimony until we did all the assets. So it was a really great negotiating technique for them, because now it put the onus on me for me to get that financial relief, to be more willing to compromise and to get it over with. And you got to be really careful of that, guys. I'll tell you, whenever you're doing this, when you get stressed and you just want it over, don't make rash decisions that you haven't fully thought out that you're going to live with for the next, depending on how old your kids are, the next decade or longer. All right, so Lisa's still having problems with the live stream. At least she was 20 minutes ago. Ooh, Schwa says, judges usually only care that kids are safe, fed, and happy. And safe is, not the way we think safe is, right? They're not talking about safe as in mentally safe or not being emotionally manipulated. They're talking about, is the other parent putting cigarettes out on them and going to kill them? Or are they basically okay? And it's tough because until you can really demonstrate some type of problem with their behavior, you're kind of hosed. So EMJ says to Chemtrail Mary, I see why I had feelings for my narc when he's on his best behavior. But in the same conversation, he rides me why I'll never go back to him. I'm thankful for that. You know what? And that's a great comment, because I remember there were times where in the early stages of this, where I was very susceptible to get sucked back in. And fortunately, my ex was raging so much that it was weird, because it was like every time I really started questioning myself and feeling really, lost, I guess, she would do some of the meanest, vicious things and say things and do things that were just like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, I made the right decision. Now I say that tongue in cheek. It hurt. It was painful. And every time those realizations that came in and it was slap me back across the face, it didn't make it easier. I mean, it made me feel that this horrible nightmare that I was living was something I had to do. But it gets better, guys. It really does. Let's see here. Oh man, it scrolled. Darn the luck. And let me see here. I went through the other day, I was going through some of the, when I went through and rewatched our parts of the live stream, and I know I miss comments, skip over comment. I don't do it intentionally. There are times where I'll see a comment that I talked about, and when I went in the replay, and I'll look back and I'm like, oh wow, there's a comment right above it or below it that I completely missed, and that was a really valid point. So I don't do it on purpose. So if I miss your guys' comments or whatever, it's nothing against you. I think not Rebel Law. Who was it the other day? I just saw their name. Rocky and Ella, I think, did a super chat which highlighted it. Not that I'm begging for money, because you have to pay for it, but that's a way to get a message really highlighted. If you have something that you really want me to ask, if you can put question in the front of it so that I can try to look for that word, I'll try to do that. Sometimes it's tough to figure out when you guys are asking me something or when you're asking someone else something. So on that, welcome to the live stream, Rocky. Glad you could make it. I think I got your email that you sent me, and I just haven't had a chance to answer it. I should have some time tomorrow to try to catch up. So yeah, Lisa, I did talk about your post a little bit earlier. That's kind of what the whole thing was about. So if you want, Actually, you know what? I think there was a second part of it that I was going to hit. Yeah, you know what? I didn't. So let me pull this up. So Lisa said, after my ex, after 27 years, posted a picture of he and my good friend he had an affair with years ago. They are together again. He told my kids this weekend after camping with her in our trailer. Then divorce sucks. So, Lisa, this is actually, there was somebody else who made a comment, because you further in that comment that was on Facebook, she had also talked about how her old friend, who is now, basically dating with her ex-husband, and has been introduced to the kids, is attractive, and is had a bunch of work done and everything. And someone made and it's interesting, because I had this that actually, when I read that, when I was I'm trying to see how to say this. I really felt that my ex was very attractive. I think in retrospect, looking back on it, that was the one thing that was the constant in the relationship, right? I mean, that was the thing that made all the other emotional abuse and the gaslighting and all of that stuff bearable, because I was like, oh, I'm so lucky that I have such a pretty person that I'm married to. Now, granted, it did help with the kids, right? Because, the kids didn't inherit all my genes, right? So, but here's the thing. And your comment, I remember earlier on having some conversations with Debbie about this. And a friend of hers had said at one point, because they had seen some pictures of the ex, not with me, but whatever. And her male friend's comment was, she's not that pretty. Why are you beating yourself up trying to compare you to this person who isn't really that? I mean, it's not a supermodel. It's not. And I've seen the picture you're talking about, because you posted it in the Facebook thing. And just before I go on that, number one, stop looking for the information. Block it so you don't have to see it. Don't do it to yourself. It's tough, because it's almost like a drug. It's like you want to know so bad. And I get it, because I used to do the same thing. But nothing good comes from it. And again, it doesn't matter what they're doing, right? Your ex, Lisa, is and was a narc. That's who he is. The fact that your good friend, who is more than likely also a narc, is, they're creating this illusion. Hey, this illusion might last a while. Is it genuine? Is it real? It's an illusion, right? And you have to remember that. And as you start to remember that, and you start to drill that into your head, right? That's where that absolute thinking is super important. And then the black hole thinking is and then where you're not looking for information helps you, because it's just not, it's not healthy. It doesn't accomplish anything good. So, all right. And then let's see, the last part on that is, no, I think I covered what I wanted to say on that. So hold on a second, guys. I got a message coming in. I just need to double check. So. All right. Dealing with an issue that I can't really do anything about right now, so sorry about that. Whoops, let me get back over here. So, Ken Walter, welcome. Glad you could make it. So let me try to get caught up here. I know I'm way behind. Oh, you know what? Hold on a second. I might be able to. Give me a pause. Sorry about this, guys. I prepaid for the tickets for the movie, and they lost the paper. So I also emailed it to them. So I'm trying to to send that to him, to Debbie. So hopefully that's not an issue. Sorry about this, guys. Okay. So there's always something to keep the days exciting, right? Okay, so Ken said, Helena, I went through the unfit living condition thing. Keep your chin up. Suggest you understand and agree that you would be better in the house. So, oh, that's a good one. That's a good take. AMJ, once you see the narc, you can't unsee it. I will do my best to get along with him for our daughter's sake. Yeah, that's actually her, and I know that rolled up, but that's really critical, because anytime you, and I don't know what in context you meant that, but the way I'm taking that is, anytime you look and you see something about what's going on with the ex, it changes everything. You can be in a good mood, you see something, and it totally derails you, and you have to really be careful about that and be cautious of not doing it to yourself. Oh man, somebody thumbed down my live stream. I'm just checking stats. So if you're still here and you want to say what we could do better, send me an email or let me know. So you can't please everybody. So all right, let's see here. Bless Her Health says it's amazing how they all use the same playbook. Yeah, it's actually, I'm actually really grateful for it, because it makes it easier to identify what's going on. I mean, if everyone's actions were different, and then it would be harder to really figure out what's real and what's not real, and what's really going on. And I think that's mainly our problem, is because not everybody's relationship is toxic like this. A lot of people, and even you in past relationships, may have had situations where you were able to break up, and it wasn't, but it was done in a healthy, mature way for the most part, and it wasn't, so toxic. All right. Ooh, Jasmine Moon says, get a partition and state that the child has his own space and comfort items. That should suffice, along with a plan. That's a great idea. That's a good one. Thanks. Man, you've had some pretty good comments, so thanks. Keep them coming. Oh, Helena says, so hope know that helps against narc strategy. By the way, he's been on our friend's couch all this time, sleeping in the same bed with our boy. Now, it's a little bit different whenever it's, boy. It's a little more complicated whenever it's mom, mom, son. But depending on the age, you could, if you wanted to try to make that an issue, you can do that as well. And then Ken Walter says, Selena, there is some support, our built-in support and help there too. Another positive in your favor. All right, let's try to get. So Jasmine Moon says, my ex has a crazy leaving condition and rents his primary home on Airbnb, which I just recently figured out what that was, and no one seems to care. My son has no room, people sleep in the garage. This is when I have to use Blackhole thinking. Yeah, because you know what? Whenever you get to the point that there's really nothing you can do about it, thinking about it and worrying about it will tear you apart. It doesn't accomplish anything. Oh, Lisa says, my narc never drank Coors Light, called it bad beer. Only 805 Sierra Nevada, Fat Tire, which I'm assuming are beer types. His new supply drinks Coors Light, and they took a picture together, and he turned the can so you can see the color. And that's two things. It's either one, Lisa, he knows you're going to see it, and he is rubbing it in your face, which is, there's probably about a 75% chance it's that. The second part about it is narcs mirror whatever they become whatever the other person wants them to be, to hook them. It's all about that love bombing stage and that that pull to do. And they in that state, think about it. When they were in that stage with us, they commit to it, right? They are 100% that new person that you want them to be. That's one reason why we can believe it, is because it seems so real. And it's not until they get what they want, the hook sinks, and they have you, that they start reverting back to what's happened, what they were before. And if he really doesn't like that, I guarantee you, after things get settled down and he feels comfortable, then he will probably go back to saying it's garbage. So, but again, Lisa, looking at it and looking behind the veil, or trying to look in the black hole, doesn't do you any good. You have to stop doing it to yourself, because nothing good comes from it. Ginger Spice, welcome to the live stream and welcome to the channel. I don't think I've ever seen you on before, so glad you can make it. Whoops, I just hit the wrong button and everything zoomed up. And she says, it's difficult to navigate the minefields of lies. Feels like you can't defend yourself without looking bad. Yeah, and that's where, Ginger, you go through a phase where you feel like you have to defend yourself on everything and fight every allegation. And you're right. When you start, whenever you get into that fight, we care, right? You care about what happens. For them, it's a game. It's an illusion. Getting you in the fight is their win. So it doesn't matter to them whether you prove that they were wrong on that count, because they're going to just discount it. They'll move on to something else. Their win is getting you sucked into the fight in the first place. So even if you are victorious, unless you could be victorious enough to where everyone believes you and they run your ex out on a rail, which isn't going to happen. We all want it to, but it isn't going to happen. You get stuck in the fight, and it's like a double bind. There's no win scenario, because they have you stuck in a situation where you can't, every action other than not playing the game is as a bad approach. So I guess I should have posted that one on the thing. Okay, so Bless Her Health says, when dating, my narc claimed to be Christian, spent money on me constantly, respected my dreams, didn't drink, etc. After married, he controlled the money, drank heavily every night. Atheist. Wow, he went from being a Christian to an atheist. I know you mentioned that before, but it didn't click, and didn't support me. And that's exactly what I was just talking about, right? That comment, which has since scrolled off the screen, is they adapt to whatever you want. That's why, if you get caught up in this and you're feeling like, how did I get tricked? How did I get tricked by this person? How are they able to do it? It's because they do stuff like what Bless Her Health just said. They become the perfect person that you always wanted. Why wouldn't you fall in love with them? Right? Because one, you don't think someone has a capacity to be that deceitful, but they are. They tell you everything that you want to hear. They act like you want them to be. They're attentive. They are affectionate. I mean, okay, a good example. I mean, I know I'm a guy. I like affection. That's a thing for me. It was okay. I mean, that started as soon as the hook was set, and a few months after I was married, it stopped. And a lot of people, you guys have seen this from other channels, because I don't talk about this that much, but I know you've seen other people talk about it, like David from CNXG. Angie talks about this. There's a lot of other channels that talk about this. You get sucked in wanting that illusion back, right? And you can't, and you're so much in the middle of it that you don't even see it. You don't even realize that you were conned. All you know is you want that feeling back. You want that person to give you that attention. They did it before, so they'll do it again. So I'm just doing something wrong. That's why they're not doing it, right? It's tough. All this stuff is not easy. Bless Her Health says they lie and mirror to get the supply and then slowly show you who they are. Now he's back to the Christian church going, church going, doesn't drink guy, probably for his next supply. Yeah. Suck the person back in. And the crazy part is I think that when they're doing that, they think that's who they are. There's differencing opinions on it. I mean, I know a lot of people, it's like narcs know exactly what they're doing. And, you know, it's just crazy because they're able to be so convincing, right? It's like, how can someone act like that and try to, you know, and display those emotions and those feelings when they're not really true? And the problem is they're not. They're pulling them out of a Rolodex of emotions, a pre-programmed responses for what's appropriate at that time. They're excellent at reading people. They know what reaction is the right reaction to get what they want, right? So, all right. Oh, Flying Free. Wow, I haven't seen you on, so glad you could join the live stream. My ex is attempting to change my kid's school through a forced move. Has no established address. Schools are more than 20 miles away. Current school will keep them enrolled. Will court maintain this? Okay, so, all right. You need to talk to an attorney, but this is my impression, and this is what my approach was, or our understanding of my situation. Since my kids lived in this city and went, I mean, granted, there was a little bit of a risk because they switched schools, but this was their home. This area had their friends. When the ex was trying to move states, it turns it into a move away, and that doesn't automatically mean that the court will say that the kid should go with that person. Unfortunately, it's an excellent move to force a custody change if they don't like it, right? I think that was partly what my ex was doing, but then, okay, but see, in California, typically what happens is the burden of proof is on the person moving. They're going to have to be able to show and demonstrate why it's better for the kids to move. You know, how is it better for the kids to move with mommy to a different state? And or daddy or whoever. I mean, and if you cannot articulate that in a clear-cut way, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Now, unfortunately, it's a risk, and it's going to scare you because, you know, there's a possibility that the court could say, yes, we agree with the move, or they could say no. You need to double check with an attorney on what your situation is and what they think your chances are. In my situation, I am 90% confident that if she would have forced the issue and did a move away, I would have full custody of the kids. That's the reason why, in my opinion, she backed off, didn't move, is living a mile away from me right now. The kids are going to the same school, and nothing's changed. So, you know, I don't know. I think that now the only caveat is that they have primary custody and you're just seeing them every other weekend, then they could make the argument saying, well, you only see the kids, you know, 20% of the time, and you can get your 20% of the time over the summer, you know, and then you just have to fight it and saying, no, it needs to be reoccurring time and whatnot. Now, if you're in that situation, it could complicate things, but I don't think right off the bat it's going to be a slam dunk. And don't agree to it. If you agree to it, then you're hosed, and she'll get to do it. So, all right, let me try to catch up. So I think one of these days I'm gonna have to make one of you guys a moderator just on the event, like when I'm behind, in case things get weird, that it can be taken care of, and we don't have things going on that are not good, which I don't think's happening. I just I get worried about that sometimes. Ken Walter says, kids are the key. If I had no kids with her, I would never see or think of her again. I tell you, all of us with kids, it makes this nightmare much worse, right? And then we with kids, we can look at other people who have, you know, who are struggling through this, and it's still a real struggle. I'm not saying that somebody who doesn't have kids, that they don't have a struggle, but it's like, you know, you look at it and you see everything you've been through, and you're like, oh my God, I mean, if I could just go no contact and move and never have to see, I mean, and have no reason to ever speak or see or talk to this person ever again. I mean, I personally, if she had stayed, well, one, she would have left the state, but if not, I would have moved. I would have moved someplace else and just got away from it. So, Schwa says, yes, a narc will attack anyone close to you. Mine tried to get a TPO, temporary protective order, on my mom for looking at him in an angry way. Well, wow. Yeah, and they'll do that just to try to mess with it. They'll lash out any way they can to try to use anything against them. All right, so let me... So, hey, we have 28 people. You guys who haven't hit thumbs up, if you could do that, if you're liking the live stream. And somebody undid their negative, so thank you for that. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Okay, so it scrolled back up. So let me try to see. I need to slow down because I get worried, or I don't want you guys just to be kind of, you know, with me being behind. So I need to check this out. So, all right. Oh, and Dansky, wait a minute, hold on. I see somebody saying good news, so I want to check that. So Rolo says, hello, Dwayne, some good news here. My ex is going to let me FaceTime the baby tonight. Oh, that's awesome. Paperwork for divorce custody is printed, waiting to be signed. I'm not going to let her get any fuel from me. Awesome. That is really good, Rolo. I'm glad to hear that. And I'm glad that that's, you're starting to make some progress there. Now, keep in mind, she's more than likely going to still try to manipulate you. Just prepare, or gaslight you and triangulate you. Just prepare yourself for it. And when she does it, just don't give her that emotional response. And, you know, even if it is really angering you, wait until you're away from her or she's not on the FaceTime call or whatever to deal with it so she doesn't get the reaction from you. All right, so it scrolled up. So let me try to figure out what I missed. Okay. Dansky says to bless her, especially when so predictable, have to laugh. It's like watching a little kid. I had a friend of mine who used to say that that he would laugh at what his ex-wife was doing. And it was his ex was a narc and her ex-husband, or her new husband was, yeah, it was bad. And I couldn't believe, I mean, when he would say that to me, I'm like, how can you lie? This isn't funny, right? But I think it's one of those things where as you progress and you get better on this, their idiotic behavior and actions and the things they try to do, just to get under your skin. For instance, what they would do to him, every year on his birthday, they were out of state, as military. So they did have, the only caveat on the move away thing is if it's military, sometimes that does create some problems. So they PCS'd and got full custody of the kids. Hold on a second. And what they would do, just to be the wonderful human beings that they could be, because they were able to take my friend's daughter on the other side of basically, I think to Virginia, right? So the other side of the world, the U.S. And then every year on his birthday, they would file on his birthday, right? So he would get the knock at the door. He would get served paperwork on his birthday to have child support increased. They would say, we want, some stupid amount of money. And he would have to go down to court and he would have to argue it. They wouldn't even come. They would do that, make him have to go to fight it, take time off of work to do it. And it finally got to the point, he said that, as time went on for years, because this went on for years, the court bailiff and they wouldn't even make him go in, right? They would come in and go, oh, hey, I'm not going to say his name. They go, hey, happy birthday. Give me your paperwork, grab the paperwork, go in, and the judge would sign denied and give it back to him. But that's the type of crap that these people do. And it's evil, vicious, vindictive bullshit. So, ooh, dang it. I didn't mean to say that. Sorry, guys. It looks like on the ticket thing that they lost the tickets and had to rebuy tickets in case anyone was interested. So, Grace McLaughlin is on. Welcome, glad you could make it. So she says, I heard of a very fitting description of narcs. They look to you on how to react to situations. Saw this numerous times. There's that momentary pause, you'll notice, sometimes almost frantic. And see, that's also the catalyst for the narcissistic stare, because if they can look at it and figure out what to say and you're not catching it, but it's whenever you pin them into a thing and they're trying to figure out how to react and you're watching them, then you get that narcissistic stare. Jasmine Moon said, I printed my ridiculous ex emails and texts and bring them to my therapy. My therapist has a way of showing the humor and we just laugh. It's helped so much. Oh, that's great. Well, and it's also great that you have a therapist that actually helps. Now, you said something about the love magnet syndrome, and I scrolled off of that and I don't know where that is. So if, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I scrolled up and I'm going to scroll back up onto it. I don't know. Okay. Oh, Dansky says, to bless her health, all a show, hashtag facade, hashtag fake book. Yeah. You know, that's the bad thing about Facebook. Well, any of the social media stuff, because it's you can control your illusion. You know, I mean, technically, well, I mean, you know, you can kind of do that on YouTube, but I think if you guys knew that I was BSing and just, you know, not genuine in what I was doing, I think you would see through it, right? But I mean, it would be easy for someone to come on and bash their ex and say, you know, they're a narcissist and they're just horrible and look what they've done to me and stuff like that. And I know sometimes I talk about what has happened in my situation. Really, my intent when I do that is for credibility, so you guys understand that some of the experiences I've been through, and really what I'm trying to do is I want you guys to look at me now and see somebody who isn't, you know, completely anxious and completely stressed, and I do have my moments, right? But and to realize that you can get there too, right? So, anyways. All right, let me try to scroll up here. Yep, see, I scrolled back because I just looking at a comment I already read to someone. So Rolla says, pretty amazing that she's texted me out of nowhere and I got a notification about this live stream at the same time. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, and see, Rolla, they're going to see this. Be careful, because the other thing that they're going to do is they will they'll modify. Well, it's hoovering, right? They'll go back to try to switch to the behavior to try to get you to respond the way they want you to respond, and to try to confuse you too. You know, to make you think you're crazy. So Rocky says, take your time on the email. Wishing you all the best. Thanks, appreciate that. Grace says, EMJ concur. Can see why I was taken in, almost a childlike innocence, which the empath gets totally taken in by. Well, yeah, because we feel, you know, we feel sorry for the person, that they've been wronged, that you know, like for in my situation, I remember, you know, early on with my ex, it was like, oh, every other person I was with was a jerk. You know, my first boyfriend that I really, you know, that was my first love, you know, he did this and that. And then the next person was horrible, right? And I fell into it. I was like, you know, oh, well, you know, I mean, that was so, how could somebody be so mean to such a wonderful person? So, it's you know, it's tough. And it's, you know what, guy, okay, and I know I'm going to go off on a tangent on this, but I think it's kind of important. One of the things, okay, first, we have to be really careful when we're going through this to not let the anger completely overwhelm and consume us. The second part about this is we lose that naive, childlike person that we were. And it sucks. It sucks to have that bubble destroyed. You can get caught up in that, and you can get so angry about what happened to you and what you lost, about what you've lost with your personality, without what you've lost financially, what you've lost with access to your kids, you know, with friends and all that stuff. And if you allow that to envelop you, you can get stuck in that mode, and you have to be really careful about it. So, you know, it doesn't mean that you can't be an empath anymore. Does it mean you need to be a little bit more, a lot more trusting, or not trusting, but be a lot more selective and have, an open mind or open eyes on what's going on? Now, I didn't think about this when I was going through my relationship, but I did do this at work. When I started getting burned by people at work, what I would do is I would willingly put myself out there on something small, kind of like a test, right? To see if somebody would burn me. And if they did, then it's like, okay, I got burned, but I didn't get destroyed, right? Now, the funny part is I was doing that when I was still married, and I didn't even realize what I was dealing with and what was going on. So, but yeah, Bless Your Health says, yeah, I wonder if I'm an empath or codependent or just naive. Oh, you're probably potentially all three. Codependent, I would say, depending on how you were raised. Okay, here's the thing. Some people are like, well, if you have a narcissist in your life, then you have to be a codependent. No, you don't, in my opinion. Now, I think I was codependent, but that was part of my family of origin. So that's a different, so I fall in that stereotypical situation. But if you had the perfect relationship and everything was great, when one of these people target you, they watch you, like somebody else was just saying a minute ago, that they look for you to gauge the reaction. They are looking at you, reading your expressions, reading what they think you want to hear, and they're telling you and acting the way that they think you want, or that would get the best reaction. For instance, Lisa, who was talking about the Coors Light beer, if her ex is thinking, oh, okay, well, this new person that I want to suck in, that's her favorite beer, and she's really, really excited about it. So guess what? That's going to be my new favorite beer too. Because it's all an act. It's all an illusion. It's not genuine. So even if you didn't have some issues growing up, how many people who've never experienced something like this are going to be able to see someone who they think is being genuine, pretending to be somebody that they're not, but that you don't start seeing the mask slip until they know that they have you. And they know that they have you because they test, right? They do certain things, and if you catch on it right up front, or your response isn't with what they need, then they go back into the other thing. Now, if they feel that they have you, and now that they can use it to gaslight you and emotionally dysregulate you, well, that's a different story, right? They can change it, but by then they know that they have you. They know that you've already been sucked in, and you're not going to walk away. And if you say something about that, and I will say, you know what, guys? I mean, there was a period of time right before I had kids where I did have a blow up with my ex, where I was like, you know what? Never mind. I'm done with this. She changed in an instant, became the person, I thought, and my stupidity, my naive way of thinking, I said, we had a conversation and we had a breakthrough and things have changed because this is what's real. No, it was, oh crap, I'm getting ready to lose this. What do I have to do to reset the relationship? And then she got pregnant a few months later. And I was, and then it took another, 11 years, 12 years? 12 years for me to finally just get to the point where I couldn't deal with it anymore. Okay, now that didn't help me try to catch up. So let me try to, hopefully you guys didn't mind my tirade on that. Oh, Jasmine Moon did say, check out the Human Magnet Syndrome book on this topic, Empath and Narc. It's really good. And if I remember correctly, that is Ross's book, if I think, right? So let me go. Human Magnet Syndrome. And Ross Rosenberg. So I haven't read this book, and so probably maybe it's not the best idea for me to pull it up. But this is what she's talking about. I've heard about this, and I know that Ross has moved on to the love deficit disorder. But you know what? All of the stuff that's out there, anything that helps, right? So Jasmine's saying that this book helped her. And, I talked before about a balanced approach to recovery. Books and information play a key role in that. So I guess I probably shouldn't be popping this up whenever I haven't actually read it. But I just wanted to bring that up. So let's go back here. And now I got to get back to my thing. Okay. Oh, Pedro says, my ex has a boyfriend now. Thank God. Less time to ask for my son or annoy me with her stupid BS. Yeah, sometimes that's good. The only thing that makes me nervous on that is their interaction with your kids. I'm a little worried. I mentioned this before about my in my situation with my ex being done with school. Is that if she doesn't, all this stuff has started to ramp up as she's finished. So I am concerned about that. And if I get time, I'll mention to you guys a little bit what happened yesterday with my daughter and the silliness that was going on with that. It actually went okay. All right. Dansky says, con artists and corruption in this world make you think differently. Yep. Chemtrail Mary says, I'm not a codependent. You have to be an abused child to be a codependent. Emotionally abused. Might have been, well, hard to say. What I'll tell you is that most of my childhood is blocked out, and I don't remember a lot except fragments, which I know is not a good sign. All right, so an abused child to be codependent, and you have to give others too much that is harmful to yourself. Yep. Blessrael says, I'm excited when mine gets a new supply because then maybe he will leave me alone and the kids alone. Yeah, I don't, I'm worried sometimes about mine. If she doesn't ever get married, I'm financially tied to her. She's financially tied to me. Basically, I'm paying her forever. So if she gets married, then at least there is a chance if she got married and then when my last kid turns 18, then it's like I could almost go no contact with her. That's still unrealistic since you have kids, but it's different. All right, so let me see where we're at. Aw, Shasha said, sorries. I think she had to go. Said, my little made a dinner party. Aw, that's cute. I remember, it's funny. I remember whenever my youngest would want to do the little teacups, you'd fill up with water and sit around. I don't think I ever wore a little hat, but it was pretty funny. Facebook has been posting up old pictures from like 4 or 5 years ago of the kids, and it's just like, some of them with me or some of them with the school. I take a lot of pictures, so it's just like, man, they changed so much. EMJ says, Grace, I haven't seen Good Will Hunting. I need to watch it. I tried, but my grandma hated it, and I had to turn it off. Man, I haven't seen that in a while. It's a good book. Good book. That's a good movie. Helena says, my narc has a serious girlfriend since right after our split. Is it possible he's trying to replace me as a mother of my son's life? Is this may be why he wants 50-50? He's never been a hands-on dad. It could be. It could be that he's, that his girlfriend, he's trying to be what he thinks she wants him to be. Now, okay, however, what I will say on this is, as a potential positive, somebody who can help regulate a narc and do the right thing can be a good thing. Doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but it does mean things can change in a better way. Now, worst case scenario is that your narc gets a girlfriend or a boyfriend who is the opposite of that, right? Now, in some ways it helps you because if they are more likely to be not wanting to be involved with the kids and stuff like that, then it kind of phases you out of your life. Now, but the problem is that then they will start trying to mess with you on other things just because they have to keep drama on. So I don't know if that's kind of a catch-22. But yeah, that girlfriend could be helping him to take on the role as a caring father, which technically would be good for your kids. Or was it son or, yeah, your son. But it's still, it's like these people are chameleons. All right, let's see here. Oh, Grace McLaughlin says, EMJ, that's a very good test for narcs. They don't get that film. Check out stats. Oh, you know what? I remember hearing about that. That's actually a good point. I guess that's a good sign that I like the movie. Hopefully I just passed the test. Chemtrail Mary says, Grace, I am freaked out that there are people like this and I don't know how, don't know. So now I have too many boundaries. I snap easily like never again for these jerks. See, that's part of PTSD, Mary. And you know it and you're working on that. So, it's part of the process you're going to have to go through. And there's a balance, right? And we all go through this. I've struggled with this myself where there are some, I've even actually struggled with this with some stuff with Debbie where I have these boundaries because of what's happened with my ex that I just can't, at this stage in my life, at this moment in time, I can't let go, right? And I don't need to go into that list, but I'm just saying that it's a long process. So so recognize that, know you're working on it, know that, you have these boundaries to protect yourself, and that at some point you're going to be able to have a balance of it to where you can allow people in and out of your life, either friendly or romantically, that you can be open, you can be strong enough with yourself to know that you can't get sucked in, but that there's boundaries that you won't let somebody cross, right? So you'll respect yourself. And if that person isn't respecting you, you may give them, at that point, you could be at a point where you can say, okay, this is, this is unacceptable. This behavior, and we're going to talk about this right now. I don't appreciate the way where you're speaking to me, the way you're being dismissive. It's, this is a problem. And, we can talk about it and get to the root cause, or this is going to be, a boundary breaker. Now, the problem is that when you're in the early stages of that, then you're just like, oh, heck no. You know what? There's the door. Get out, right? It just takes time to go through that. Let's see here. Oh, geez, because I'm not going to try to pronounce your name anymore. I'm sorry. I have PTSD from the live stream a few weeks ago where I know I butchered it for like an hour. So, welcome to the live stream. I'm glad you're here. It says, hello, Dwayne. Great subject yet again. I totally fell in the trap in the beginning looking at pictures of my ex and his new supply. We all do. Oh my God. And you convince yourself that that there's a reason for it, right? That's the crazy part. I know I did the same thing. It's like, well, I need to look because something's coming up in court. Maybe if someone tells me what's going on, I'll know what she's going to do and I can prepare for it. At the time, it made absolute sense. It made absolute sense. So when somebody wanted to tell me something, I wanted to know, what's she doing? What's happening? What does she feel about this? What does she feel about that? And then I take that little piece of information and I try to extrapolate whatever was going on in her head. It doesn't matter. One, you're not going to be able to figure out what's going on in her head and the other person's head because they don't think straight. Their logic changes on a dime. I don't know why I keep snapping, but it's just the way it is. I think all of us fall victim to this. And you have to realize that it's not worth it, that it doesn't do you any good. I honestly felt like I was trying to wean myself off of drugs. Not that I've never done drugs, and I don't drink. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs, because then I wouldn't have a job. But so it's been something that's not in my life. But I will tell you that in my mind, my idea of how somebody who's trying to get over an addiction, that's the way I thought it would feel, to where it's like your little inner voice is like, wonder what they're doing. You could just look. You could just, you could go on Facebook and look, back whenever it wasn't blocked. Or if you have your kids, if your kids are on Facebook, well, you could just grab their device and just see what's going on. Or you could create actually, I didn't even realize this. I didn't even think about this until recently, whenever I created an account specifically for the, for this channel, I could just create a channel or another Facebook account or social media account that they haven't blocked me on, and then I could see. And you convince yourself that there's a reason to look, and then you do, and all it does is it traumatizes you. It gives you a anxiety and PTSD, and then you go through this range of emotions of why are they with somebody else, or why are they not, whatever. I mean, it's like, I remember one point, the ex had gone I don't know, Vegas or something, and it's like, well, who did she go with? Is she going with somebody? Did she meet somebody? Is it real? Is it serious? It's like, who cares? I mean, you get sucked into it, and you want to know. You want to brutalize yourself. And I think the problem is I think most of us are looking, hoping to see something along the lines of I can't believe I made this horrible decision. The best thing in my life I lost. I just wish I could do something to get it back, right? And you're not going to get that. You'll get memes that say that you're a piece of crap and that's so much better that they're away from you. You'll get, if they're dating somebody, you'll get like, oh, I've met the person of, I had this friend of mine, a female friend of mine, and that I knew doing some of the photography stuff. Really nice woman. Really young, a lot younger than me. And I swear, for a while there, it was a 3-month cycle. On Facebook, she would meet somebody, and Billy was the greatest guy in the world. Oh my God, Billy's great. We're in love. Everything's great. Yada, yada, yada. And it would go on for 3 months. She would disappear, pop up, and then because the guy would get jealous that she was on Facebook and whatnot, so she would hide everything, and then she would come back, and then it would be, he was a jerk, he was a piece of crap, why did I fall for it? And then a few months later, now Kevin is the greatest thing in Swiss cheese, and it was just like this cycle I kept watching, and I didn't know about narcissism at the time, but I mean it was tragic to watch that. And I'm not even sure what my point is. My point is that, it's all an illusion, even whenever they're up there saying everything's great, it's a curated version of who they are. Sarah A. asked, can narcissism be cured or treated? It can only be treated if the person is willing to seek help. The problem is with narcissists, and even with, it's 2 phases, right? So narcissists don't generally think that they have a problem, so they won't be treated. Plus, they're going to fight with their therapist. The second part of it is that if they're borderline, it's the same thing. Then there's a whole nother set of drama. To the point I remember talking to my own therapist about this once. I said, oh, okay, well, you're an expert in personality disorders. And she goes, oh, no, I don't treat personality. She goes, nope, I don't treat narcissists and I don't treat borderlines. And I'm like, oh, really? And she goes, yeah. She goes, no, no, it's not worth it. They don't really want to be helped. And so that's the other problem is that, you're even have limited access of who is really willing to take you on as a client. Dansky says, everyone who is dealing with a narc, just remember it's all your fault, with a big smiley face. Everything happened due to your bad decisions, but in reality, you're better off. Yeah, and I think he's making a tongue-in-cheek joke. But there are some therapists who kind of go down that road, and whenever you're already struggling with this because you don't understand, you don't understand, but you're struggling with what is reality. When someone starts doing that, that's why that's bad, right? Because I think most of us, when we go through this, we go through that phase where we question ourselves. What did we do wrong? What could I have done better? Why did it, what could I have done thing? If you go to a therapist who's going down that road saying, what was your role in the destruction of this relationship? I mean, it'll re-trigger or re-traumatize you or give you trigger you or PTSD and not help. So Ken Walter says, I honestly wish my ex would find someone else, get her off my back. Yeah, I agree with you that. G says, but once I was able to block it. Oh, somebody just, let's see, shout. So somebody, oh, thanks, Rocky. I appreciate that. And then you guys, part of that's cut off. I'm going to have to try to figure that. So that's a super chat, you guys, if you're interested. So thanks, Rocky. I really appreciate that. And as you can see, it makes your comments stand out big time. So I wonder, can I click on that? Oh, well, I can click on it. So I can actually, if you guys do that, then I can pop up and it actually brings your oh, how do I get out of that? There we go. All right, guys, so let me try to get back on track. Thank you, Rocky. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see here. All right. Okay. So I am... Ooh, Sea to Clouds HD. Welcome to the live stream. Says they become everything you want them to be, and then then the backhand compliments basically start. Who also experienced gaslighting during sex, or what's it called? Actually, you know what? I don't normally talk about that. I did experience that. That's especially with the backhanded, subtle. I mean, I was talking to Debbie about that the other day. I think that's a topic that I probably should cover at some point. It's one of those things where I don't think it's the right time for me to do that. So, but thanks for that comment. Yeah, that's a excellent point. C to Cloud HD that you guys can't see because it scrolled over for a long time ago. Need a beer at 7:09, so 30 minutes ago. So I'm looking at old comments. Said first time on the live stream. Thank you. Glad you could join us. Thank you so much for all you do to validate our struggle. June 29th, we sit with retired judge to try to settle our court for 50-50. Well, good luck. Need a beer. Hopefully that goes well for you. All right, so let me try to scroll back down. And like I said, you guys, if you have a question, put question on the front of it, or if you want something that you want me to try to address, try to highlight it. You could do like Rocky did. And I will drive the conversation to that. Grace on narcissism said, losing our innocence. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, great. Yeah. Ross Rosenberg. Okay. Kim Walter said, when I look at all the crazy things a narc does and how clever they are at twisting the truth, it's hard for me to think my ex is smart enough for all that. Oh, I know. That is a really good point, Ken, because I've thought the same thing. It's like, how can it, but I think it's instinctual, right? I don't normally talk about the lizard reptilian brain. I know Richard Granion's talked about that. I know David over at CNXG just recently made a video about it. It's instinctual, right? I mean, it's like that playbook that we talk about that they seem to have, where they just, it's like a self-preservation thing, because a lot of the stuff they're doing is to maintain their own illusion. So they're doing it not out of skill, they're doing it out of necessity. I don't know if that's the right word, but. Ooh, Chemtrail Mary says, I never got gaslighted. I was always big on the truth. He couldn't pull gaslighting off on me. Good for you. Oh, it happened to me. I see it actually happening to my son in the non-relationship that he has. And it's just, you know what? I will do everything I can to help him. But at the end of the day, it's his journey and he's going to have to figure it out. It's really hard to watch somebody do that. Cedar Cloud says, their kisses burn, and if you flinch, they'll say that you were mean and that they are sad that you flinched. The narc wants their victim to have freeze responses. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good point. All right, let's see here. So I'm going to try to scroll up here. Zigzag, welcome to the live stream. You're new, and welcome to the channel. I know some of you guys lurk. I remember a couple of weeks ago I couldn't find that word, and somebody who lurks actually that was their comment, was just lurk. That still makes me laugh. So no, you know what, Zigzag, I'm glad this stuff helps, and that's one of the reasons, or one of the main reasons why I've done this, is just to try to throw out that lifeline for those of us going through this with kids. because there's not a lot of information out there. There's not a lot of channels that you know, I mean, I know this is like a sub niche of the narcissistic abuse genre, but I think it's really important. And a lot of the normal things that people do when they don't have kids just don't really apply. And because we have that connection, it makes it really complicated to navigate this and survive it. Rebel Law Dansky, absolutely. It baffles me how they can do that to their kids. All right, let's see here. Oh, I'm almost to that. So, all right, so I'm getting closer, and now everything just scrolled again. All right. Oh, Grace says to Dwayne, heard Sam Vaknin mention cold therapy as a possible treatment. Yes, Dwayne, only if they truly want the help. No, I'll have to watch. I think I saw that video pop up on the feed. I haven't watched that, so I'll have to check that out. So I'm not that aware of it. But again, they have to want. I mean, something has to happen to make them want to change it. Now, there's oh man, I can't remember her name. There's another person that David's working with who has a channel, and she's a narc, and she's trying to get better. And her catalyst was her husband basically said, if you don't change, I'm done, right? And that, you know, she realized she didn't want to, you know, however it happened with her, it caused her to try to do something to address her issue and move on. But see, like I said, something has to happen. And that could easily have gone the other way, where they rage against you, they immediately discard you, and they erase you as a source of supply. You know, so it's a tough move on that. So, all right, let's see here. Okay, so I am at like 7:34 on the comments. I'm almost current, which means I probably have skipped a bunch. If there is anything that somebody wanted me to discuss or talk about, just repaste it in the comments and put, you know, something to make me see it, you know, question or what. I don't know if you can do bold text in this, but something to make sure I don't miss it, because I know there's a lot of stuff that we've talked about. I might have missed over something. So, and let me get back to where we were on this. So, oh, you know what, Chemtrail Mary, because there is a black lady on YouTube that is trying to change her narcissism. That's who I'm talking about. And you know what? Let me see if, let me see here. What can let me go over here. Let me see if I can find her, and I'll do a shout out, or at least show you guys her channel if I can. I think I might be subscribed. I have a hard time staying up on, oh, now my nothing's moving. Come on, YouTube. There we go. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, I thought I was subscribed. I guess I can't remember her channel name. But yeah, that's who I was talking about. And she's been doing some stuff with David. David's been helping her as well. So Chemtrail Mary says, Grace, I listened to Vaknin. It seems he is making the narc go back to childhood. This kind of therapy is used for CPSD. Oh, that's a good point. So Nita Beer says, Rebel Law, yes, this page helps a lot, but the frustration is never ending. Actually, okay, your perspective on it will change. So the pain and the way you're dealing with it now is going to change. So yes, you're right. In some ways it is never ending, but this situation, with the way you're feeling today, Nita Beer, is not going to be the way you're going to be feeling 6 months from now, 2 years from now. Because the more you learn about what they're doing, how to interact with them, you take that power away from them. Oh, and you go, yeah, kids want to spend more time with me, but she denies that. Yeah, and see what's going to happen at some point is the kids will get frustrated and they'll start lashing out to her, which sucks because for your kids to have to go through that. But in some ways, it's better when they're more overt in that regard, because she's making the case of what's wrong with her to the kids. Kids are still going to want to love their mom, and they're still going to want to ignore and deny a lot of the abuse, or the emotional abuse, but it does have an impact. Yeah, I'm going to have to watch the thing. Okay, Grace says, I wonder if that's on the screen. I'm almost to the thing. Let's see here. I have a big screen over here. So if you guys looked at the picture I posted on Twitter, you'll see I kind of did a picture of the set, which in some ways is kind of obnoxious, but I thought you guys might like to see that. Oh, okay. Use symbols for questions. Oh, that's a good idea. That was Rocky said that. Okay, Leche. Okay, Leche says, por favor says, I'd love to hear about any tips you have about going to court, which is actually on the screen. So we're pretty much current. Okay, I do. Actually, you know what? I made a video about that, and let me see if I can find it or figure out where I put it. Let's see here. I'll go to videos, and actually, that's not what I wanted to do. Let me go over here and go to my channel and see if I can do a search on my videos. Okay, I'll tell you what, instead of trying to look for it, I'll see if I can find it here. But let me get back to this so I'm like going in circles here. Oops, go back one more over here. Okay. Where is that comment at? Okay, leche por favor. I'm going to do this just because it will make it easier for people to see. And select all, paste. Okay, so the first thing is you have to realize that just because they are saying something is true and it's going to go a certain way doesn't mean it's going to happen. They're going to use fear and intimidation and everything that they can to try to get you to break. Their goal is to get you to respond in a way that validates what they're saying. If they're trying to make you out to be a horrible mom, then that's what they're going to do. They're going to point out everything to push your buttons to get you to respond in a way that they can use in court to show that your position is wrong. Just because somebody says something in a court document doesn't mean that everyone's going to believe it and that it's true. So even if they put something in there that is partially true, right? Because that's one thing that they're really good at. Not everything is a complete lie. It's out of context. If, for instance, I'll use this one. Like 3 years before, when the kids were younger, the ex had gone back to her home state and the kids stayed with me. I'm not exactly the most, mechanically inclined person. I'm good at tech, but I'm not good at, plumbing and stuff like that. I was trying to change the faucet on the house. So, in the bathroom. And so short version of the story is I, at one point, because I kept having to go back to the store to get stuff, I had to drive 3 miles away to the hardware store back. I left the kids in the house, drove there, came back, and they were, I think the oldest was, I wonder when this did happen. I'm trying to remember the time frame, because maybe my oldest was 11. So that'd be 11, 3. I mean, so, it's one of those things, but just when you're trying to rush to get stuff, loading everybody up in the car, whatever. So I made the command decision to leave them. That ended up in the court paperwork a few years later. That, example, on this date at this time, when she wasn't even in the state, the kids mentioned that I left them. And at the time, it was no big deal, right? But during court, it was that, I don't know how to parent kids. This is another example of what I did, right? And they will use anything. You know, they will use, if you did something, you can expect them to take it and embellish it and try to make it sound as worse as a piece of evidence to show that you're, you know, a piece of crap. And just because they're doing that doesn't mean it's true. And you don't need to get into the nuances, right? Because see, the bait on that is that then you try to defend yourself, and then they're able to run you into the ground, and you inadvertently admit to doing something that is out of context. The second part is you have to remain calm. You have to, when things are happening and you're being gaslighted, you have to be able to be in the moment and say, okay, I'm being gaslighted. I'm being manipulated. He or she is trying to trigger me, and calm yourself down. And you have to make sure that when something isn't going your way, that you're able to be as, you know, keep your emotions in check and react rationally. If you can bring somebody that can help you do that, that's great. Hopefully your attorney helps you do that. And the other thing on this is court is generally slow. So you're not going to go in on a court hearing and have everything happen all at once. You know, I mean, unless you make a significant mistake that they can leverage off of, it's stressful and it's very risky, but it's not absolute, right? So even if you lose something, it doesn't necessarily mean you've lost everything. I know we haven't talked about Alex Falcone in a while, and I noticed he started posting some new videos, but his story, if you haven't seen it, go to let's see here. I'll see if I can pull it up on the screen real quick. Playlist. Where are we at? All right. If you go to go to my main page, the playlist, the interview with Alex Falcone, he talks about his situation and how he fought for 8 years, and when he lost things, he appealed it. You know, now granted, he did pro per, so he was representing himself, so the cost was a little bit less. But it's like, you know, it's not finite or final, right? You know. So reason I say that is because that way, if something bad happens, you can help yourself. Like, okay, like let's say you went in and you know, it's 80-20, and you know, your ex is saying they want 50-50, and you go in and the judge said, like in my situation, now this is opposite because it happened, you know, whatever. But what I mean is when I went in, we were at basically 80-20. I wanted 50-50. The judge said, basically strongly encouraged us to agree to 70-30. Now I will say that if we wouldn't have agreed, it sounded like he would have said left it and just had a hearing and left it the way it was, but maybe not, I'm not sure. But so when we left that, it was 70, we left with 70-30. So if that's your situation, it's like, okay, what does it mean, right? I mean, okay, so now he's going to have to, you know, you look at it from a reasonable perspective. It's like, okay, so now my ex has more time, you know, is he going to be able to pull it off or not, right? And you just got to keep yourself calm going through it and not allow yourself to get completely emotionally dysregulated on it. So I hope that's a good answer. I do have another video. I think it's called, you know, Steps for Dealing with Anxiety. That was specifically created when someone asked us another question about that. You know, see, now that makes me want to go look for it again. Anxiety. Let me see if I can find the video. Okay. PTSD, maybe I got to remember what the name of it is. I'm trying to see if I can find it for you. No. I don't remember what the name is. Sorry about that. Because I have a video that I specifically made on that. And it was made in response to somebody who was getting ready to go to court, and it was to help them to try to calm down. I'll see if I can look that up. You know what I'll do is I'll look it up, And if I find it, I'll put a link for it and I'll send it out in the newsletter. So if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, Leche Por Favor, please do that. And I'll send it out that way. All right, so let me get back over here. Oh, wow. Oh, Mommy and Mo says, I have in essence been alone for years. Yeah, that's a great, it's a sad comment, but it's very true, because what happens is you're with this person, but you're alone. They're not really there. It's like the comment people will make is like, it's better to be alone than to be with somebody and be alone, right? It's better to be alone by yourself than to be with somebody and be alone. And I can relate to that. That was horrible. Let's see here. I think I rolled up and missed some stuff. Oh, wow. Sarah says, romantically, I found my narc very intense, but there was no passion. He seemed too cool. I don't know if you mean cold or cool. Oh, aloof. Yeah, honestly, that's I can relate to that. That is very, very similar. Kim Chomir says, I have PTSD with emotional flashbacks. That I did have that, and it's pretty much it's under control right now. So hopefully, Chemtrail Mary, I mean, I know you keep continuing to work on it. I think there is life after this. You just have to find the right technique that works. Have you tried EMDR yet? Have you been able to do that? Because I think that's supposed to work really well with it. I haven't done it yet. I've talked about the EMDR thing. Anyways, I'm not going to go over it again because I could talk about that for a while. Bottom line is I tried it. It was too intense for me at the time, so I didn't go back to try it. And my therapist used other techniques to help me get through what I was working on. But even though I've never used EMDR, I have a very positive feeling about it. And I guess I brought that up. You didn't bring that up. So, Mommy Mo says, yes, Sarah, because he wasn't attached. Yeah, that's a good point. Wow. Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, Sarah A says, robots cold, no passion, mirrors your moves. Or, well, yeah, it's yet another good indicator that there's something seriously wrong in the relationship. My issues manifested itself within a few months of being married. And you guys know I was married for 20 years. So what happened for me when everything changed, I remember having this epiphany of, I understand why people cheat, right? Because I was being emotionally and physically or sexually rejected, like, 3-4 months into the marriage. Everything changed overnight. Everything was great. And then boom, everything changed. And I made the decision that I thought that the worst, cruelest thing you could do to anybody, which, I mean, I'm glad she didn't do this, but is to cheat on somebody. So I'm like, I wouldn't do that to somebody. And that's horrible. And I was like, I love this person. She loves me, or so I thought. And, you've married for better or worse, and you work through it. And I just dealt with it. But you can't deal with it, right? When you're being rejected at that level, and you're being subtly put down at that, at that intimate level, it screws things up. And I'm sure you guys, what you went through is probably similar what I went through, where when it really started to get to you, they would throw you a bone. They would do something to make you think that oh, okay, it's better or whatever. I literally, within the first 3 years of marriage, I realized that nothing was going to happen on New Year's, Valentine's Day, my birthday, Hanukkah, all the different holidays. If we went on a romantic, at that particular time we were in Spain, and we could go to the coast of Spain. Actually, drive up there for the weekend. It was really great, beautiful place, right? I love Spain, and I conditioned myself that if we went someplace, nothing was going to happen. And I just finally made my peace with it. That's how I dealt with it. It was like, okay. Initially it was tough, right? I mean, we would do something and it would be that teasing. It would be that, I can't believe I'm talking about this. It would be that teasing all the way, the 2 hours for the trip, oh, hey, when we get there, oh, this, that, and the other. A lot of, teasing. We'd get there and it'd be like, hey, and they'd be like, no, let's go, while the shops are open, let's go out and walk around. I'm like, oh, okay. And we'd go do that and we'd have lunch and we'd stay out, late. And then when we get back to the hotel room, oh, I'm too tired. I don't feel, I just took a shower. I did, whatever the excuse was, right? So you get that pent up not anger. You get that pent up energy and, just that tension. And I dealt with that for years. And to be honest, and that's destructive for a relationship anyways. And that was really messing with me. Oh, I'm grabbing a pen. Towards the end, when I finally had reached my breaking point and she pushed my buttons enough, I remember there was one point where she tried to, the normal go-to to get me back under control was to give me a little bit of attention. And I remember at one point, it was like I knew that the marriage was completely falling apart. I hadn't given up on it yet. I still was hoping it was going to happen. And she was like, hey, we should do something. And I'm like, no. And that was probably the first time in 20 years that I said no. And probably only the third or fourth time that she actually tried to instigate something. So anyways, and you made a comment. Sarah says, I was sure he was gay or bisexual, to be frank. I have thought the exact same thing, right? It would not surprise me if ultimately when it comes out that she has a girlfriend or something. I don't know. At this stage of the game, I don't care anymore, right? At least if it's a girl, they can get married, so spousal support can stop. Anyways. All right. I normally don't talk about that, so I hope you guys, I hope that, I don't know. That was weird. I mentioned before, I try to stay away from those topics, so, anyways. All right. Let me, man, you guys kind of got me. That's one of those topics I don't really talk about. So, like I said earlier, I was talking with Debbie about it. I think it's one of those things that at some point I need to talk about it because I think it's important and I think it could be helpful. And I think there's a lot of us out there that probably experienced that nuance of these relationships. So I think it would probably help people realize that they're not alone in that regard. Both men and women, right? I mean, I know on the guy side, a lot of people think that women just don't like sex and they use it as weapons and they do whatever. I have seen the opposite. I've known, not that I've been in physical relationships with, but I've known women who wanted that connection, that experience with their husband mainly their husbands, and they wouldn't do it. And to be honest, the first time I heard that, I was like, are you insane? There's a guy that would, if their wife was trying, is instigating, that wouldn't be interested in it. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what? But it's both. I mean, there's stereotypes on what a male narcissist does, and there's a stereotype what a female narcissist does. But it's not absolute. They're interchangeable. That's why that's why 50% or 60% of the viewer audience on this channel is women, because they've been through the exact same thing. This channel has been an eye opener for me that it's not just a guy thing. It's a narcissist versus non-narcissist thing. And whether it's a man or a woman, they do a lot of the same manipulative, emotionally damaging tactics. Okay. All right. Man, you guys got me on that one. Let's see here. Where are we at? Initiate. Yeah, Ken Walters says, I said instigate, initiate. Yes, you are correct, Ken. Thank you for the clarification on that. Okay. See, I started talking, so comments rolled up, so I'm trying to figure out where I was. Wow, you guys, looks like... Oh, you know what? Rocky says to Leche's question, show the court you have your emotions in check because they will not want mixed emotions for the child. Excellent advice. That's a very succinct way to say that. So that was a good one. Oh, Kim Mary says, I've stopped having panic attacks. I'm so glad for that. I guess it is anxiety. It sucks. I have no reason to have anxiety making hamburgers. Something on it is triggering you, right? So something with that is causing you to tie to a different emotion. All right. Well, I guess I was talking for a while, so a lot of things rolled up. So Ari Silver retracted a message, but is on the live stream, so welcome. Oh, okay. Ari says, and I hope I am saying that right. Hi, everyone. Longtime viewer and first-time live chat poster. Very glad to be here. Well, glad to have you. So welcome. We're probably going to wrap it up here soon, so you're kind of at the end. But, you guys haven't said this, but hopefully, for the folks who watch these in replay, the way I'm doing it now, hopefully, is better. I think the comments are better. Other than I'm not. The only bad part about it is I'm not necessarily talking about the comments that are on the replay, but hopefully you can follow you can kind of get the conversation, what I'm talking about, as well as see what the back end conversation. To be perfectly honest, people who are watching on the replay is probably are more on what's on the comments than I am. It's really hard for me to talk with you guys and stay on the comments. I do my best though. Hopefully you guys concur with that assessment. Let's see here. Mommy Mo says no. Our narc preferred pornography and affairs to intimacy with their spouse. If that helps clarify. I suppose they don't have to have emotions and are in control. Yeah, I that has surprised me. Now, I mean, I understand, if the other person is rejecting you and you're not getting anything and you turn to, affairs. I think if you're going to get to the point where you're going to have an affair, you need to just end the relationship. Pornography, okay. But if somebody is a willing participant and you're turning to the internet, that's one of those things I just can't wrap my head around. So, all right. Oh, Sarah says, actually, Mo, without giving out too much inappropriate info, he appeared he was more fascinated with himself and more pleased with his own physical form. That is actually stereotypical narcissism, right? I mean, that is not so good. Okay, let's see here. Oh, so you guys are talking about, is that rolled off the screen yet? Oh, okay. Let's see here. Sarah says, yes, he seemed drunk and passionate about the worship my beauty, won't you? Take, but not passionate about us together. Yeah, see, so he's not. See, and that's a level of control too, right? Because then you're going to be striving to try to get that, hey, pay attention to me, hey, look at me, give me some attention. And it freaking hurts. I mean, it's tough whenever you're vulnerable and you're open to somebody and they basically eviscerate you. And I think, in the intimate category, it's worse, right? Because you're at your most vulnerable. And there are things that, actually, never mind. But that'll be for a different video. All right, let's see here where we at. Okay. Oh, Ari says, thanks for the welcome. Been over a year in a very high conflict divorce case with my narcissist, soon to be ex. Got a 14-month-old son, is almost 3-year-old, and wait a minute. 14-month-old son and 3-year-old daughter caught in the middle. Yeah, see, that's tough because you're talking 17 years. What I'll tell you, I mean, okay, if you've been watching other videos, Ari, you already know that, and if I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry. You, especially with how long you have, do everything you can to try to get all your issues mapped out in your divorce plan. Try to get the best deal you can now. Get it written up now. Not that they're going to follow all of it, but you're much better off if you have that at least on paper, right? It gives you some flexibility, because what will happen is, if it's, well, everything's going to be ambiguous, and they will use every little twist and interpretation they can to mess with you. For instance, and I know I've talked about this before, but I'll use this as a quick example. The first Christmas break with the kids, the court order was written that, even odd years, the person with the kids for the Christmas break, get them from the time school's out until they go back to school. My school, or the kids' school, actually, that's like 28 days. It's really kind of annoying, and I didn't think about that, right? I didn't look at that. I thought it was 2 weeks, big deal, right? The kids actually get out of school typically like on a Wednesday. My visitation being Wednesday, if it happens to be on her, well, even if it isn't on her week, she gets Monday, that means she gets the 2 extra days plus my 3 days plus the 2 weeks that you normally would get. Okay, that's it. That's that part, whatever, right? The second part about that is it was written in that the person who didn't have the kids would get to see the kids on Christmas Day for a few hours as mutually agreed. So that first year, my ex said, hey, it's my year with the kids. I'm taking them out of state. I'm leaving, the Wednesday, whatever, on this date when they're out of school, leaving the state, and I'll bring him back on the 6th or 7th of January back to school. And I'm like, that's awesome. But I get to see him on Christmas Day. And she's like, no, the court order says if we agree, and I don't agree, so you don't get to see the kids. So that's what I'm saying. The logic is insane. Now, I played it that I would basically, accuse her of kidnapping the kids if she went. That argument lasted for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. So I'm just saying that if you have something that's important, Ari, make sure that man, you guys are deleting messages. I hope everything's okay. That you, well, anyways, that you identify what's important and you make sure you put it in there. Hopefully all the retracted comments aren't things getting out of control. So let me scroll down to the bottom and take a look. So Leland and Ari are retracting messages. So let's see if anyone's saying anything. Guys, if there's anything I need to be worried about, let me know, because this has been kind of my concern on some of this, that some things can go odd and be a problem. So let me see here. Instigating, Kim Walter says, but I was right. She was instigating. T, welcome. Glad you could make it to the live stream, even though we're going to wrap it up. Chew Chewy, welcome to the live stream. I haven't seen you on for a while. True, they rather have porn and hookers than the real love and affection. You know what? It's actually, and probably that right there is a good reason why. Not a good reason, but that's probably why. Because they can't handle real emotions. So having that disconnect and just dealing with the physical parts, probably why it makes sense. Mommy Mo says cerebral coverts are so much fun. Yeah, not really. Okay. All right. Oh, everything's fine, just retractions. Okay. Thanks, Rocky. I appreciate that. I was getting kind of nervous, so yeah. So oh wow, we're actually 17 minutes over. Okay, so on this, if you guys, okay, so as we start to wrap this up, if you guys have not given the live stream a big thumbs up, I would really appreciate if you would do that. That would be great. If you, for the people who jumped in later on this, if you could, no, not that one. If you could go over to the website and do two things. One, sign up for the newsletter if you want to get notifications and little, off channel stuff that I'm planning on doing. Sign up for that there. I did create a forum for you guys because by your request, that is actually up and operational. Looks like we even have a new comment. So if you guys could, you know what? And in this little replay window, it's not that great. I'm still trying to figure out how to make the font bigger. I'm still, if any of you guys are good at WordPress and want to, drop me an email, that would be great because there's some things I'm good, okay at the tech, the camera and the technology stuff. I'm not so great at the WordPress stuff. Anyways, but I do have the forum running. If you guys could jump in and check that out, I would appreciate it. Hopefully, if you guys like it, we can keep it going. That would be great, right? And so let's see here what we have. So the newsletter, sign up for the forums. If you want to send me an email, you can do it through the contact form, or you can do it. So you can do it straight from, if you, for whatever reason, if you're not getting the email right, if you do it from the website, it will send it directly to me. You could also, let me get over to the slides so I can bring that up if I hit the right button. There we go. You can also email me directly at Dwayne@dadsurvivingdivorce.com. If you send me an email and I don't respond in a few days, send it, just resend it. You're not going to offend me if you just take your message you sent to me, resend it to me and say, hey, Dwayne, did you get a chance to check this out? Or maybe you missed it or whatever. I mean, don't be mean and say, hey, can you read my dang message? But you guys know I will do everything in my power to try to connect with you guys. So, on that, let me see what's going on. Whoops, I hit the wrong button like I typically do. And see if there's anything ending up. Oh, Ari says, yeah. So, yeah, you know what? No worries. Thanks for, I was worried most people don't retract stuff. And it just made me nervous. So, Ferrari. See, also, Arri makes, ARRI makes really high-end cameras and lights and stuff. So I have that terminology in there. So, but glad you could make it. All right, guys. So we're going to wrap it up. I think I went through what I needed to went through. Thumbs up if you haven't done it. If you're new and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell button because then it'll actually tell you what's going on with the channel as opposed to just YouTube thinking, maybe I'll tell you what's going on. If you guys have suggestions in that forum that I am not on now, there is a thing to talk about topics. So, you can add that on there. That would, that would kind of drive some of the future discussions. And there we go. Let's see. Read my damn message. All right, guys. So I should be back next week. I still am doing vacation with my. Oh, I never did get to the topic about my kids. Maybe I'll have to do that in another video, or we can talk about that next week. But I do have my kids, my daughters, right now. I get my son back on Wednesday. We're doing some stuff this weekend. You guys know, the only reason I'm able to do this is because, like I mentioned earlier, Debbie took the girls to go watch Wonder Woman, which I'm really bummed because I wanted to see that. But that was the only way we could do the live stream because I can't do this with them in the house. And so I'm still going to try to get some videos out. It's going to be a little tough, so bear with me for the next couple of weeks because of vacation. Once that's over, I can get back to my normal schedule of doing videos, hopefully Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's my normal schedule. I kind of like that. And yeah, on that. So worst case, I will see you guys next Tuesday. And I do intend to try to get some videos out, but I don't think I have anything for tomorrow. And I might have some time tonight though, because they started the movie late. So we'll see. All right, guys, appreciate all the support. As usual, the conversation in the live chat has been outstanding. I appreciate the super chat, which YouTube calls it, to where you can kind of donate some money and have your comment highlighted. Rocky, thank you very much for doing that. It really means a lot. I mean, every little bit helps. And I hope you guys are having a great start to your summer vacation with your kids. And I hope this channel keeps helping you. And on that, I will chat with you guys on the next video. So take care. All right.